what's the most disappointed you've ever been with college football? It could be on the field or off the field, from Bossier City, Louisiana. Well, I've got something for you. Now, I didn't want to take such a somber turn so quickly in the show, but I've got something for you. I guess, let me be careful with this. I guess what's disappointed me the most in college football is the amount of our people who were willing to marginalize what is uniquely ours, the regular season, in a chase for something that is ununiquely everyone's, i.e. a great big expanded playoff. And I know that some of you have done that and you've since regretted it. I know others of you are steadfast in that belief that you don't have to sacrifice one to get the other, which you're wrong about, but when you realize it, it'll be too late. You cannot, and I repeat again, cannot expand one thing and keep the sanctity and value of the other thing. And no, you're not going to come back at me and say, but if we expand this, there'll be more of that. That's not the way it works. It's not the way it works. You devalue the best of that. It's not an equal trade-off there. You devalue the very best of that regular season to add some really good to the regular season. You devalue the great to get a little bit more really good, featuring teams that aren't going to stand a chance at the playoffs anyway. But I'm not here to relitigate that. What I am here to ask, humbly, is I wonder how many people that in 2008 or 9 or 10 were complaining that we want an expanded playoff or a playoff period. I wonder how many of you out there that at one time in your life were expansionists, if given the chance now, would go back to the pre-playoff era and realize, I didn't know it at the time, but it wasn't so bad. 2007, 2006, it wasn't so bad. It wasn't perfect. I never said it was perfect back then. It wasn't perfect, but given what the alternative was going to be, and keep in mind what has happened in the playoff era, it disappoints me because of the collateral damage the sport has suffered. We didn't just get a 4-team playoff. If it was just that, it would have been fine. So oftentimes it happens in life that a lot of folks lobby for something and they can just see that thing and they can never see the ripple effect that it's going to cause. They just see that thing and they get laser focused on that thing. And I may have been victim of this too in the past. I've just long since seen the error of my ways. But a lot of people got razor focused on wanting a playoff. And they never knew. Really, in fairness, we couldn't have possibly foreseen this, or at least I never heard anyone talking about it back then, of what a playoff would do. And a playoff, well, let's think about what it's done. It's led to a phrase that used to never exist, which is meaningless bowl game. It's led to a concept, which used to never exist, which is players opting out, not just of pre-Christmas bowl games, but of New Year's Six bowl games. That's like your BCS level games of generations past. It's led to a lot of people arguing that all but a few regular season games are meaningless. This stuff never happened back then. Or if it did happen, it was being vocalized by such a fringe minority that we all laughed at them, like we should have done. It's not the worst thing in the world for people to laugh in your face sometimes if you're saying stupid stuff. And people back then, just like the ones now who call those games meaningless, you may not be a stupid person, but good and smart people say stupid things all the time. Stupid people don't ever say smart things, but smart people sometimes do say stupid things. And some of you out there, if you're smart enough to watch the show, I got a lot of respect for you. But if you're calling these bowl games meaningless just because someone else convinced you if there's not playoff ramifications on the line it's meaningless, no, think for yourself. Do that. You know how to do that. Think for yourself. But that's what disappointed me, and what has disappointed me is watching how many of our folks are, meaning college football. We are not just part of the sporting fabric, if this makes sense to you. You could talk to NBA fans, Major League Baseball fans, NFL fans. They all have a version of the same thing. The ball's just shaped different. College football is its own world. And there used to be borders on this world. And the door swings both ways. We'll be happy to let you in, as long as you understand there's a protocol. And there's a difference in this world than the world you came from, the professional world over there. And if you want to leave our world for the professional world, broadcasters do it, fans do it, you can go ahead. The only thing we didn't want you to do is load up your little satchel or your wheelbarrow, whatever you brought with you from that outside world, and bring that mess inside this world. That's all we asked. And yet it was too much for some people. And they had to bring in this idea that, well, the way they're doing it out there, what if we did that in here? Or here's my counterpoint. What if you realized the way we do it in here doesn't exist anywhere else, which by default makes what we have unique? And what if I suggested that they have what you want literally in every other league out there? So there is a plentiful supply of you having versions of what you want in the professional ranks. We also have the NCAA tournament in basketball. If an expanded postseason field is what you desire so much, this one little thing over here, why is it that this little community over here is what we have to sully? It wouldn't have happened unless people inside our community allowed it, and unfortunately, too many of us did. So we can't do anything about the past, but the question was, what has disappointed me? That has disappointed me. I hate that we couldn't have a happier ending, but I guess one thing that I do take from it, I get inundated with so many of you, anytime this comes up, that tell me, I used to be an expansionist. Because I was too. I wanted the playoff too. I wanted not the expanded at the time, I just wanted the playoff. So I didn't fight it. I was on board. I'm certainly willing to admit that. So I was like the rest of you. But a lot of you will come and say, I didn't want to stop at 4. I wanted the expanded playoff. I wanted the 8. I wanted the NFL model or the MLB model. But I have since realized you've made a lot of points on this show I'd never thought about before. Sometimes we do it and we're wrong. I happen to think we're right in this case. But I guess there's a little sliver of sunshine there at the very end of a dark and cloudy segment.